The story of Joseph in the Bible is a great example of how dreams and faith can help us overcome our biggest problems. In this video, find out what lessons to learn from Joseph's story. Joseph was born into a family of 12 children. His father was a carpenter and his mother was a homemaker. Joseph was the son of Jacob and Rachel. Jacob, the father of Joseph, was the son of Isaac, who was the son of Abraham, the first patriarch of the Hebrew people. Rachel was the daughter of Laban, who was also an important figure in early biblical history. Joseph held a special place in his father's heart, and he was given a beautiful coat of many colors as a gift. However, this gift caused jealousy among Joseph's brother. As the youngest child, Joseph often felt left out and unimportant. However, he always had a strong sense of right and wrong and was quick to stand up for himself and others. When he was just 18, Joseph had a dream in which he saw his brothers bowing down to him. Shortly thereafter, his brothers sold him into slavery in Egypt. When Joseph's father, Jacob, learned that his favorite son had been sold into slavery in Egypt, he was devastated. He refused to be comforted and blamed God for his misfortune. But Joseph did not give up hope. He remained faithful to God, even in the midst of trials and tribulations. When Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, he was brought to the palace of Potiphar, an Egyptian official. Potiphar's wife soon took a liking to Joseph and tried to seduce him, but Joseph refused her advances. She then accused him of trying to rape her, and as a result, Joseph was thrown into prison. There, he met two other prisoners who had also been falsely accused, one of them the cupbearer to the Pharaoh. During a famine, the Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker were thrown into prison, and Joseph interpreted their dreams, correctly predicting that the cupbearer would be restored to his position, while the baker would be executed. Pharaoh the king had a dream that no one could interpret. The cupbearer recommended Joseph, and he was brought before the king. Joseph interpreted the dream as 7 years of good harvests followed by 7 years of famine. He advised the Pharaoh to store up food during the good years so that they would have enough to survive during the bad years. The Pharaoh was so impressed with Joseph's interpretation he made him second in command over all of Egypt. When the famine struck, Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to buy grain. They saw Joseph, who was in charge of food. They did not recognize him at first. But Joseph knew them, and he had a plan. He accused them of being spies and had them thrown into prison. But then he had a change of heart and had them released. He told them to go back to their father and tell him to come to Egypt with all his family. Joseph was reunited with his father and brothers, and they prospered in the land of their exile. The years passed, and eventually Jacob died. But before he died, he blessed Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and gave them a special place in Israel. And so the story of Joseph ends on a note of reconciliation and hope. Despite all the trials and tribulations he faced in his life, Joseph remained a faithful servant of God. And because of his faithfulness, God blessed him abundantly. What can we learn from Joseph's story? First and foremost, we learn that faith is essential. Even when things are at their darkest, faith can give us hope and help us see a way forward. Secondly, we learn that dreams are important too. Joseph's dreams were what led him to where he ended up. They were God's way of communicating with him and guiding him on his journey. And finally, we learn that no matter how bad things might seem, there is always light at the end of the tunnel if we just have faith and keep dreaming. From the dream we learnt that Joseph was 17 when he dreamt that his brothers would bow down to him. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew it was from God. So he told his brothers about the dream, and they hated him even more. But Joseph didn't let their hatred stop him from following his dreams. He continued to have faith in God, even when things were tough. And eventually, his dreams came true. His brothers did bow down to him, and he became one of the most powerful men in Egypt. Joseph's story teaches us that we should never give up on our dreams. Even when things are tough, we should keep faith in God and trust that He will help us achieve our goals. The lesson learned from Joseph's brothers. The disappointed brothers must have felt terrible when they saw that Joseph was still alive and ruling over Egypt. They had probably been hoping that he was dead so that they could take over his role as the head of the family. It must have been a shock to see him there, looking healthy and prosperous. What can we learn from the disappointed brothers? First, don't give up on your dreams. Even if it seems like everything is against you, keep going. Second, don't be afraid to forgive. The brothers were eventually able to put aside their jealousy and resentment and reconcile with Joseph. That took courage and humility, but it was worth it in the end. Joseph's story teaches us that no matter what happens in life, we should never give up on our dreams. We should always have faith that things will work out in the end. Just like Joseph, we may not always understand why things happen the way they do, but we must trust that God has a plan for us. The shocking truth about Joseph's story in the Bible is that it is a story of immense hope. In the midst of great trials and suffering, Joseph never lost sight of God's faithfulness. He was able to see beyond his current circumstances and trust that God had a plan for his life. As a result, Joseph was able to forgive his brothers and even extend grace to them. His story is an inspiration to us all that no matter what we may be going through, God is always with us and has a good plan for our lives. This story shows that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. Thank you for watching. If you love this video, please click on the notification button so that you will not miss out on any of our new videos. Please kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.